Hi, this is J.R. Pandy, the No BS Gardener. And if you're watching this, this is our second part in the series, Pruning. And today I'm going to talk about pruning evergreens. What's an evergreen? Evergreens are plants that hold their leaves throughout the winter. I've got a few of them here that I'll pull up. Let's talk about the azalea first. This is a rosebud azalea. Timing is very important when you're pruning plants that flower. A rule of thumb to go by: if it blooms in the spring, you don't want to prune it until after it blossoms. I mean, we wait for these flowers to come out. Why do we want to cut these things off? If it blooms in the summer months, we want to prune it in the early spring to get more blossoms to come out. So this is a rosebud azalea. It's in perfect full bud and bloom right now. I would not touch that plant. A lot of people do not realize the time to prune azaleas. This here is a Gerard fuchsia azalea. It's got a few blossoms, but they're starting to fade. You'll notice all the new green growth that's happening on the sides. Not time to prune this one yet. The last one I have here, and this is a Hino Crimson azalea. This is kind of the time you want to think about pruning. You'll notice that most of the blossoms are faded. They're starting to push out some new growth here and there. Usually, kind of a rule of thumb I go by is after the last petal falls, you want to wait about 2 to 3 weeks. That way it gets all its new growth out. And sometimes you'll get some of this growth that happens. It's above the rest of the plant. And then what you want to do is get in there and just prune those guys down, even it out. This is going to force it to get some new growth happening, and you'll end up with a small or a bigger, fuller, more blossom type of plant. So I'm just going to kind of bring this guy back. You know, I don't have a problem with going in here and just taking the shears and trimming these back. You know, it's frowned upon again, using shears to prune, but sometimes there's just a time element involved. And we'll go through and prune 400 or 500 azaleas, a couple guys in one day. I mean, if we did it technically the way you're supposed to with the pruner, you're looking at 4 to 5 days to do the same thing. So it's okay to use the shears every once in a while. And again, wait till about 2 to 3 weeks after that last blossom falls, and then prune your azaleas. Now, another one, popular plant, and this goes for all different types of evergreens. This is actually a Norway spruce. It's a variety of Norway. It's called a bird's nest spruce. And this is a small plant that can get quite large with age. So I honestly can keep this plant this size indefinitely with proper pruning. Now the key to pruning an evergreen is you'll notice that, say on this branch, I'm going to go ahead and eliminate that, maybe come a little closer to the camera to show. And this goes for evergreens. They could be pine trees, spruces, big, small. You'll notice I've got all these green needles through here. And everyone asks me, how far can I prune this plant back? I could prune this plant, if this was 3 feet long and I still have these little needles here, I could prune it all the way to back to where there's still needles. So I come in here and I've got those few bit of needles there. That plant is still going to be fine. The problem occurs when I have this long piece and I really want to take it back and I trim down to where there's no needles. Now, if I get into that, I just killed that branch down to the next lateral stem. So and that goes for arborvitaes, spruces, pines, every evergreen out there. You can get kind of brutal with these, but do not get back into that, I'll call it dead wood, because there's no little needles on the side of it. All right, so let's just say that this guy is a little too big and I want to shrink it down. I'm going to get in here and I'm going to just prune these to a lateral branch, and again about a 60-degree angle. I'm just going to do a little bit here, a little bit there. I could take shears to this. It's not the best thing to do because then it's going to look like it's been sheared. So the key is, before they actually leaf out, I mean, you can still prune up until the middle of September because pruning promotes actually growth. So now, if you do it before they start shooting out their new growth, that's the best time, just because the plant will compensate for it. And the key to proper pruning is pruning so it doesn't look like it's been pruned. So we're going to take some of these longer branches. We're just going to eliminate some of these guys. We're bringing it back. And again, wherever I prune this, this is where I'm going to get some growth. So we've kind of really made that a little bit more formal than what it was before. And I could really, if I wanted to shrink this plant down, say it's too big, I'd probably take about this much off every year for the next 3-4 years. Try and shrink it every season. So there's how you prune your evergreens. I did have one broken branch there, which I should have took off first. But the same principles apply. You want to prune so you have outside growth. And like there's some of these branches that are going inside towards the interior. I mean, I could really just get in here and take those guys out so I've got more sunlight that's going to happen down in here and just going to get a lot more growth. So, prune off the dead, competing branches, eliminate one of the stronger or weaker depending on what you want to do with your plant. And then number 3 would be to prune towards that outside growth. Now the last one I'm going to do today is going to be, I think this is an inkberry. And the point I want to make about this inkberry is, again, they get a lot of lush growth on top. There's not too much happening down here. So really, to get some sunlight occurring down there so we don't have this barren, sticky plant as it gets older, we don't want to go through and just shear these. When that happens, again, here's where it was pruned last year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different new sports of growth this year. So what I want to do is I'm just going to make a couple cuts in here. I'm going to look inside and see if I can eliminate a couple of these branches in the middle. There's one branch that I took out. Doesn't look like I did anything to this plant. I'm going to get rid of this growth going way across the inside of this plant. And it was kind of dead. And let's see, let's do one more in here. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to get that sunlight to come in here. And I'm going to get some new growth happening down here, which is what you want. That's going to help to keep this plant thick and full. You'll notice that there's some dead branches in here, and that's basically because it's not getting any sunlight. So we'll eliminate those guys, and we could go through, you know, we've got a lot of branches happening in this area here, so we can eliminate one of these branches because they're competing for the same spot. And then we've just kind of opened that up a little. I mean, ultimately this is going to be a nicer, fuller plant. And we'll just finish this out real quick here. Maybe one more here. Now, what we've done is we've really opened up the middle of this plant. And you notice it's a little barren. But I know that we're going to get some new growth that happens. And that happens in about 6 weeks, so be patient. Another thing you can do that's very helpful to your plants is fertilize them. We all eat. Your plants need to eat. If you want everything thick, full, really healthy, I love products by Espoma, Hollytone, Plant Tone, Tree Tone. It's all organic. They just do wonders for your plants. So that's it for today. And keep watching because I'll be back with more gardening tips on the No BS Gardener.